Hello everybody! The game actually remembered to save my progress, which is nice, but at the same time, we have like the most inappropriate music for this current time. At some point, RuneScape music had to fail us, but this is quite entertaining, so I'm just rolling with it. So if you remember, the last time we have uncovered some sort of hole inside a research facility, I think, that we decided to go down it. There's some banging around below. I'm fine, Antonio calls up. Just slipped on some... I don't even know what that is. It's slimy. Let me just remember to switch on my chat, or else I will not notice when a message comes through. There we go. This is much better now. It is now existing. Hooray for us. Hurrah. Huzzah. Hurrah for us. Stephanie is the first one through. She regards the room with total discernment, then turns and fixes you and Shadow with a defiant gaze. And you know she's the one who killed the others and who has hunted you for 3 nights. She crosses to the cells. The orange stripes on the wall and the chain that held Jasper Knowles White are exactly the same as what you saw in that video back at Tuscan's rooftop Elysium. You and I are gonna have a talk, Babylon. The one who calls herself Stephanie says. You, me, and the others. Antonio's flashlight illuminates the ceiling. He'll be here to hear what the hunter has to say in about 3 seconds. Okay, I have questions. First of all, the game goes, Stephanie steps through the door, and I'm like... Who? Probably somebody I should have taken note of, memorized, remembered, but my brain has completely escaped me, so... What? What's a Stephanie? I mean, possibly a woman, but what's a Stephanie? Anyways, I'm gonna use celerity because I have conveniently got it before this mission. To lock the door before anyone else gets inside. You slam the door, crackling the old locking mechanism. Hey! Antonio shouts. Keeps on banging as you turn to confront Stephanie. Has so much time passed, Babylon? You really not recognize me, the one called Stephanie says. She studies her hands. When I knew you last, I looked so different. I could barely speak, but I learned so much since the hunters came for me. Okay? Suddenly you recognize the tilt of her head, the shift of her weight, the way her ragged coat flutters like loose skin. Lampago, you say. You never used that name when you served her. Josiah never bothered with names. Oh shit! Okay! Oh god damn it, that sounded like a phone, even though my phone doesn't sound like that. Yes, RuneScape, thank you for phone melodies. Okay, this is my favorite comment. How did you learn to speak and think? Hi, sire! Last time we met, you were an animal! Jasper Knowles remade me with the secrets he learned here, Lampago says. She glances toward the cache. He was more than a sorcerer. He studied the canine mind. He unlocked the paths it could take to escape the mindless rage and hunger of the beast. He forced me down one of those paths. It was a bloody and awful road. I will never stop hating him, but now I am more than I was. He unlocked the paths it could take to escape the mindless rage and hunger of the beast. That sounds like a good thing? I mean, I don't like mental manipulation as much as any other Hello Manand person, but Escaping the mindless rage and hunger of a beast sounds like a positive thing. Shadow moves into position near the Chromebook and gets ready to attack. You glance around the room for other exits. There's another metal door to your left next to the last cell. Professor Knowles was a great man, Lampango says. He was a scholar of the spirit. He wanted to understand what mortals and canites could endure, what would break them beyond repair, what would change them forever. He found his answer here, but it took him decades to unravel what he had discovered. He almost succeeded when Julian Sim destroyed him. Julian took all his latest research, but he did not find my maker's original research. He kicks the box holding the cash. You know, studying a mind until it breaks only works if you're studying the exact same mind the whole time. Which you're not. Everybody's breaking limits are very much different. Okay, I literally just hurt my window. Considering that the kitchen window keeps on knocking, that was kind of worrying. Okay, you know what? You know, I don't really want to fight my sire. I don't. So how about we try and strike a deal, because I do want that cash. You have become very reasonable in your time above ground, Lampango says. Very civilized. Though it may surprise you, I had grown civilized. I know you want this cash. I want first to tell you what I have learned and then to offer you a deal. Yes, a deal. Perfect! Whatever you want, honey. You cannot trust your monstrous sire, but you might be able to negotiate with Lampango. Maybe you can reach an agreement and get what you came for. She seems eager to talk, to share what she has learned and become. On the other hand, you will have to be very careful. She really is a monster, and any mistake here will lead to an immediate attack. Already her flesh is starting to shift and ribble, perhaps heralding some dreadful metamorphosis. Of course, you could always attack her first. Don't really want to attack her. You know what? I'm gonna say that I'm a skilled negotiator, even though I really am not, so this is gonna backfire really a lot. I'm interested in a deal. Lampango was quite convincing as Stephanie, only looking back now, do you realize how weird her behavior was? So you know Lampango's more than a mere wight. You should be able to reason with her, you think, even as her flesh ripples. You speak clearly and forcefully as Antonio and the other explorers unsuccessfully tried to get inside. Your sire snurs and writhes. Ah! Jesus, don't do that. What's wrong with you? Okay. Have fun somewhere else. Her teeth, sometimes growing long as knives, as shadows squirm in the darkness of the laboratory, which prevents any sort of civilized negotiation. You keep trying, but you can feel Rampango's rage building and building, and then she explodes into motion, her flesh rippling. Oh, wow. That is impressive. That is a beautiful form. I'm all for it. I am all for it. The transformation is like nothing you've seen before. Lampango rises and squirms like a huge black shadow. You see only fragments of her. Twisted horns, writhing limbs, black fur, a sinuous form. Neither coyote nor puma. Yeah, but how many eyes? She has like thousands of eyes. It's really beautiful. Okay, that's overestimating it. She has like 20, maybe. Her eyes burn gold, cat's eyes, and then more eyes open, rippling across her black body like bioluminescence of some deep sea fish. For a moment, she settles comfortably on her too many paws. You'll have your sword, but before you can even hope to strike, a black limb reaches out and nearly takes your head off. You stumble back. Where did that come from? Lampago is trying to confuse you with her shifting form, and right now you're very confused! You need to understand what she's doing before you can fight back. Well, this music is super appropriate. I'm so sad that we couldn't negotiate out of this situation, honestly. Don't really want to kill my sire. And also, too many eyes make for plenty of weak points. But first of all, we are gonna call our wolf to us and tell it to attack. At your signal, Shadow races along the workbench and leaps right into the churning midsection of your sire. Their jaws slash onto a limb, crunching through bone. That should slow her down a little. Okay, I don't know if we know more of occult lore or... God damn it, why are we always so friggin' starving? That's my question. So we do have a lot of wits, that's... and resolve, that's a lot of courage. We're very... intelligent? We have okay animalism and protean. And academics, I'm not too sure about occult lore, honestly. You know what, let's just try. All of her forms are animals I know. I use my academic knowledge of desert wildlife to guess what form she'll take next. You heard that the Sabbat, before they disappeared, could reconfigure their flesh however they desired, but Lampago is of your blood, and you know the limits of your own metamorphoses. You study her with naturalist's eye, and then you see the patterns. Not tentacles, but a coyote's limbs. Not deep-sea bioluminescence, but a shining eyes of a puma. Huge teeth, but teeth you know, a Rottweiler's heavy jaw. You even recognize the elongated shape, that the strange limb attachments in any number of lizards you've seen on desert highways over the years. She's taking the form of creatures she knows, creatures she's eaten, you suspect. If given more time, you could possibly track her travels outside Biosphere Zero from those shifting forms, but you're not here to study her. Then another claw sweeps out of the darkness. You see it coming and dodge it to one side, but Lapango overcommits. Her huge, still-growing form slams into the nest that covers one wall. A blast of dust and grit and stink of vomit assail you as corroded wall gives away. Oof! Why does the wall stink of vomit? I must know. Glowing grit blinds you for a moment. When you can see again, the cells ahead and the wall to the left have fallen away. Cell block 3 now looks out on the agricultural dome. Tree trunks, black in the starlight, rise up outside. Lampago snarls as her limbs coil around tree trunks. The cache is right there, but it's too heavy to lift easily. The door bearing the explorers from entering cell block 3 is broken, but you don't see them. They must have fled down the steps, without seeing anything, you hope, when the wall collapsed. As Lampago prepares to hurl herself at you again, the door opens. You spot a figure you've never seen before, dressed head to toe in leather and wearing a motorcycle helmet. Behind him is Julian's retainer, Nadia. Julian's people are here for the cash. When they realize you can see them, they step out of sight. Lampago roars and lunges at you, but you see fear in her many eyes. You know what? I have quite a lot of protein. Oh, I'm so digging this music right now. I'm like, whatever track... What track is this? Call to Seriu. Okay, that's highly fitting. Thank you very much, RuneScape. Yeah, I have quite a lot of protein. I'll grow my claws and just tear Lampago to shreds. You leap forward and rake your claws across Lampago's face, mangling her snout and ripping away an eye. No, not a flashback, not right now! August 2005. You know how Gandhi is super aggressive in Civilization? Julian says as both of you watch lunatic try to dispose of a dead prostitute. Ugh. What? You say. It's because, hold on, let me remember, it's because in the game's original code, Gandhi was given the lowest possible aggression rating, because he's Gandhi, right? Except sometimes you could do things to lower aggression ratings, and that would make it a negative number. He's gonna hear us, you whisper as the raggedly dressed vampire keeps trying to stuff the woman he murdered into a dumpster. But the game couldn't handle negative numbers, Julian says, fiddling with a broken rake handle. So if you went negative, it would flip back over to super high positive number and the Gandhi would want to nuke you, right? I don't understand. So here's the thing, Babylon, you're a Cainite now. You're more than human. And sometimes your powers or just your nature mean you do so well that even if you succeed, you still fuck up. Like this asshole trying to hide a dead hooker. A hunt so perfect that he lost himself in the kiss and ended up killing someone. Or the sewer rat who started shit with us last month. He knocked you right through an adobe wall and then he just went crazy. Who the fuck is there? The ragged lunatic says, dropping the corpse and pulling a snub-nosed 38. He peers into the shadows where you and your mentor are hiding. So don't forget, Julian says, you have to get it just right. Too little and you'll blow it, too much and you'll make a mess. You gotta, I said, get it, who the fuck, just right, is. Julian darts forward through the shadows of the alley faster than you can see and transfixes the vampire through the heart with his stake before the ragged man can sneeze off around. Another night, another job, Julian says. Throw him in the tracker and you'll drop him off for the prince. I think the game is talking about critical successes. Because you can do some really fucked up shit if you succeed critically in here. I'm gonna interpret it like, did we do a critical success? Your rage builds as she tries to shake you off and you slash wildly and savagely. The two of you roll across the room, denting an old computer and smashing into a box holding your cash. She springs away from you, but you jump on her again, ripping away chunks of undead flesh. When you destroy another eye, your sire shrieks in agony. And you drop low and break her stomach open. She howls one last time, falls backward and tumbles down into the forest, where saplings pierce her body. For a moment you think she's transfixed, but then she drags herself up and crawls into the darkness of the forest zone. She'll be back eventually, but not anytime soon. You turn just as the helmeted figure makes his move toward the cache, but when he sees you, he raises his gloved hands, unwilling to escalate the situation. He and Nadia retreat. You kick the door shut and check your cache. Your claws appear to have torn apart some kind of old video cassette. You toss that out. Everything else looks fine, and what a trove! You don't have time to sort through everything right now, but most of the box is dead media. Reel-to-reel, archaic video cassettes, microfiche. But you open one letter-bound notebook at random and it's full of occult notation. This is it. You strap duct tape over the missing lid to prevent anything from falling out and retrieve some straps and hook them to the box. It's heavy and awkward, but you can carry it. You head down the stairs with your prize. You drop the cash at the base of the stairs. A door leads to the stairs, shudders and cracks, and a wave of choking dust blows down the stairway. When you see again, the stairs to cell block 3 are blocked off. to smoke and mirrors them. Don't think it will work, but honestly... You see, whenever things happen that are completely out of the ordinary, the right response is, who the fuck's gonna believe you? Like, who's gonna... And the thing is, if you actively encourage out of the ordinary, sometimes life goes so cray-cray that the only way you could ever write a biography is if you wrote it as a work of fiction, which a lot of people have actually resorted to doing in their lifetimes, just, you know, in case you ever needed that information. But yeah, if you saw something truly weird, and you never recorded it, who's gonna believe you? People supernaturally fighting 20-eyed pumas? What? No one is fooled. As you push the issue, they get nervous. Try to back off and sound more reasonable, but they're already suspicious. They pack up as quickly as they can, return to the van while keeping an eye on you, and their hands close to their improvised weapons and take off. You hope they won't say too much. Ah, here comes the flashback. I just don't know, Julian Sim says. It seems excessive. Though not your sire, Julian has taken you under his wing. At times he seems as cold and cruel as an Old Testament angel. And now he flinches like a living man with every scream the Prince of Tuscan drags out of the woman's throat. Finally, it's over. You flinch when you hear the prince's voice, but Julian doesn't. Your child will be destroyed. The voice holds nothing except power. Not rage or disappointment, just a command to be obeyed. It will be done, my prince, the gangrel inside says, his voice breaking a little. The gangrel's child told his mom about us, Julian says. Sounds like mom didn't tell anyone else though, so that's a relief. This is supposed to be a lesson, I guess, Julian continues, his voice is like ashes. Don't tell anyone about us, or you're gonna get them killed, and then you'll be killed. Is that it? Is that a good lesson? I don't fucking know. Come on, we need to tell the kid if another riffraff, there's a blood hunt coming for the gangrel who violated the Masquerade. You find Camaro and Nissan tracks outside, but Julian's people are gone. They seem unwilling to challenge you directly, but you'll have to keep an eye on your cash. You load the cash into your Tacoma and some distance between yourself and Biosphere Zero. Then you spend the day in one of the old barns you passed coming here while Shadow stands guard. The moment the sun sets, you get underway again. As you approach Arizona, the news radio mentions a fire in one of the towns ahead. You brake, pull over, think. You can't be sure, but something about it smells like Second Inquisition. You get to the edge of the town, enter an all-night diner, and place a call at the payphone. Prince Letow Ghoul picks up. It's me, you say. Always a pleasure to hear from you. Do you have what we asked for? Yep, of course I do. I'm a professional. Never had any doubts. Unfortunately, certain people in our organization were less competent and discreet than you, and there are complications on the road ahead. He reads coded address. It's a safe house. Go there, then continue your journey. You hung up. Well, that's nice. They gave me a safe house. Thank you very much. A safe house is just an unfinished and neglected McMansion. Only one of the rooms is finished, but all 4 walls are up and the windows are boarded over. It will do. The next evening, you finally check out the cache. You make a list of all the tapes, reels, notebooks, cassettes inside and take photographs of each page of the notebooks. Most of it is in code, but typed out subject list is not. Subjects include thaumaturgy, the moral philosophies of the now vanquished Sabat. Well, first of all, Sabat left. Secondly, moral philosophies. The Vitae experiments of someone named Jacob Prestor, the early history of the Masquerade and arguments against its adoption, dissertation on shadow architecture that you recognize from Viper's Rooftop Elysium. Carlos is waiting for you outside of town. You spend most of the night in his Toyota AE86 as he takes back roads, nervously weaves through traffic, watching for cops and listening to the radio for the police scanner. He barely talks. You're back in Tucson 2 hours before dawn and sitting in your apartment with the data cache on the kitchen table a few minutes later. So where is all of this information going? You know what? I used the information to insulate me from the SI and shore up the Masquerade in my position. Only when I feel secure do I go to the Viper. Always drop this SI. Always like, I don't see any negatives to this. Which probably means that I am stupid, but that works just fine with me, honestly. A lot of the information in the cache is simply incomprehensible even to a sorcerer without months of study or dedicated team, and more is just unreadable without specialized equipment, and you don't want to order a U-matic playback machine off eBay and have an IOU kill team show up. But there's still a lot you can read: names of dates, correspondence to and from Jasper Knowles. You cross-reference everything with current government records and current activity in the Twilight world you occupy. Patterns start to emerge. Administrative assistants in the 1970s are retired congressmen now. Companies that operate only through camera shell corporations today are mentioned publicly in the archives before they went bankrupt. A lot of this is still connected to the Second Inquisition organizations in the US government. Pentagon work groups like the Information Awareness Office, the FBI Special Affairs Division, the local army forces you encountered before, and multiple corporate interests that interact with the Kindred. You sell the most dangerous information to some of the shady contracts you made over the years, mostly to get it away from you. The rest you use to insulate yourself from the Second Inquisition, and the next night it's time to double up by taking this cash to Viper. I didn't really want to sell it though. Okay, Canon and C can be slightly quieter, thank you Jagex Music. The music inside is thunderous, the pounding beats of Iman threaten to break the neighbor's windows every time the door opens. Prince Letow is waiting for you, Alexander shouts. His eyes dart past you to who? When you turn, you don't see anyone. That seems like the invisible Nosferatu. Letow and Dove are arguing alone on the rooftop Elysium. You catch the words shutdown and bureaucratic bullshit. Vigga cries out from atop a cactus when she sees you, and the Kindred falls silent. You wheel it the whole thing in a dolly. Prince Letow's expression reveals nothing. Open it. You open the one working lid and take something out at random. A round film canister. It gleams white in the dim lights of the Viper. White like... Oop! Whoop, 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 whoop! We're having quite a lot of flashbacks. What I'm learning from this is never eat a soul unless you like living in constant flashbacks. August 1947. It won't last, you say, as the moon rises over New York City. It can't. We can't keep running around like neonates. Nothing has changed, Letow says. He started wearing white again. The war is over, you say. Europe is in ruins. My homeland will never heal. And America, I hate this place. I hate its crudeness, its proud and boastful ignorance. I want to rest. Don't say that, Letow cries. We don't have to stay here. What if we went west? There's no more west, you tell him. It's just California now. It's just more of this. And I can't see another night like this. I've done some research on a Stonehenge thing, Boss, Dove says. Boss? I talked with one of my contracts at the University of Arizona. Boss? Letow steps away from you, then signals a retainer waiting near the stairs. The servant returns after a few minutes with your payment in a manila envelope. You get out of there as quickly as you can. One thought keeps going through your mind. He knows. Letow knows what happened to Isla. He has to. Return to your apartment and park Tacoma. You learned even more than when you began your journey. You might want to apply your considerable experience towards trading skills abilities for the dark arts of the Kindred. I definitely need blood right now. Alexander provides you with a homeless man who has discovered that people with a vampire king pay better than plasma donation centers. Hooray! Hooray for homeless people. Well, maybe not hooray for homeless people, but you know what I mean. This game to me is less about the jobs that I do and more about my relationship with Letow, so him knowing, I wanna go and talk with him and confront that. Okay. No Masquerade violations, thankfully. Did my relationship get injured? No. How much money do I have? 12,000. Time to get something bit better than this! Okay, what's the mission? It's a fixer-upper. What is the penthouse apartment like? Okay, so the mission is better than the penthouse apartment, so... Of course I get that. There's quite a bit of paperwork since the structure is so old and the rites around it are uncomplicated. Nonetheless, after a few hours spending making sure that a few centuries of paperwork are in order, and a final call to the Vatican, Anna hands you a huge brass key, a modern laser cut key for the inhabitable section, and an ancient map of the grounds, the URL for the Urban Explorer website that has more accurate maps made last year. You'll have to keep the Urban Explorer kids out. Well, part of the money you just paid will go to security. After a few hours spending securing various shadow identities under which you'll be able to access the mission, Anna hands you a laminated book that explains the security system and protocols. You move into the 80s style apartment that's the only inhabitable part of the estate. How long it will take you to move in fully? Years? Whoa! Thank you! Thank you, little kitten. Since you've been here... Yeah, it has been a while, hasn't it? Okay, RuneScape can now get a bit louder. Music doesn't always get balanced properly. But I need some music because this is just a book. This game is a book with choices and I bloody love it, but I wish that they made it into a video game. It will be decades before you can rebuild this place. Still, with this level of security, you're now free to plumb the deepest depths of your natural powers. Where to tonight? Well, the reason why I got this is specifically for training and nothing else. Please last level of Fortitude, then last level of Protean, then last level of Animalism, and then last level of Celerity. There we go. How hungry are we? Not that hungry. Perfect. Prince Letow knows that we ate Isla, and that's just really inside my mind because I really like the cookie and I kind of want the cookie to like me back. That's like the most important thing. I think I still have quite a lot of money, honestly. We skedaddled after he was staring at us funny. So I think that he figured it out. I really wish that the game just let me like sit down and have a conversation with him. Because I feel bad. I like the cookie. I would like a better car if possible. Okay, I examined the most expensive shit here. That's a good car. How much? Oh, Jesus, bloody what? Okay, we ain't affording that. Yeah, that's better than what I have. Still ain't affording that. That's okay, but it's not my thing. Oh my, this is a full-on tank. That would have been my thing, but I can't afford it. Oh, that's decent. Still can't afford it. Yeah, it's less decent, but it's an upgrade. Can't afford it. Definite upgrade. Can't afford it. This is just gonna be the way that the cookie crumbles, isn't it? Oh, now that's durable. I can afford it. Ford. Come on, where's the Ford? Speed 224. How's our car looking? How is our car looking? $213. So 224 is definitely better than what we have. What about you? 342. Nope, don't like that as much. This one is 431. I hate that. Yeah, please give me the Ford. You climb up into the white Ford Ranger and the engine rumbles to life. Then you merge onto the dusk-on road surrounded by vehicles that look almost exactly like yours. Weird tonight. Oh yes! 1 durability! Just like, make sure to never stare at it or it might just fall away and you wouldn't like that. Okay, before we set up, definitely mending my wounds. Yay! And then I eat somebody again. It's another homeless man. God damn it, Alexander keeps on bringing me homeless men. I spent my skill points. You know what? I'm off to Dallas to pick up whatever information the SP has. I just need to stop at Viper first to get her address. I want to leave the Nosferatu Elder for the last because he honestly scares the shit out of me. Night of December 9th. You hop into your Ranger and drive from the estate to the Viper. You tune to the Ranger's radios to hear the news. This is Mel Pin-chan and you're listening to Mel at Midnight. The sudden death by suicide of conservative professor Greg Halden has shocked the University of Arizona. Halden emerged into the national spotlight and yada 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 after being suspended by the University of Arizona for allegedly anti-Semitic remarks and claims that the Catholic Church was being infiltrated by what he called spiritual parasites. He was suddenly reinstated just 2 weeks ago. Several members of the traditional Catholic and neo-reactionary movements have claimed that Halden's death should be investigated as a murder. You roll past the conquistador statue in the middle of Tuscan You get around the traffic jam, idly thinking about the offers you heard and deals you made over the last few weeks since your CRX broke down. Then the moon passes behind a building, and the moment you have a sense of powers moving in the darkness, vast luminous shapes you rarely see, could not recognize. In that instant, your journey into the desert with Letow and Julian feels less like a last-ditch attempt to stop a disaster and more like a cosmic event. Not Letow, but the Camarillas' fixation on secrecy and control. Not Julian, but those vampires struggling for another way even if they can't see it. And rearmost what? The beast? The truth? The moon reappears and you realize that you don't have to decide now, but soon. You'll have to decide soon. You know what I don't get is that this is really easy. This whole Masquerade shit should be easy. You know, maybe Gehenna has a point. Maybe the like old Methuselahs arise because the fucking people in charge are idiots. You would have like what? 100, 200 people at most per town that are vampires? Small amount, small community. Surely you fuckwits can manage without causing suspicion. Here's the thing. The smaller the town, the more of a chance that you could infiltrate and control the whole town. Think Call of Cthulhu, think of all the creepy little fish villages where all people are in onto this tiny little religion, and when people come in snooping around about any sacrificial murders, they all just go, what sacrificial murders? Nothing's happening over here, no siree. And if literal walking fish can do it, and surely undead can too. Yep, move along, nothing to see here. No sacrificial murders are happening right now. Investigator, please leave this quiet fishing village alone. Like, it's just... It shouldn't be this hard. How can you fuck up so bad that you need to pull back from the internet and from the banking? Do you know how easy it is? Every single time you guys talk about vampires and the government steps in, just go, ha ha, LARPing, ha 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 ha. You have literally no idea what kind of people are hiding behind LARPer communities, IRL. Yeah, we just have this rulebook, but I mean, you're a bit of a true vampire that likes to drink a bit of blood. A lot of those ended up integrating into Vampire the Masquerade LARPing communities of all places. Or S&M bondage groups. And that's people that need to be doing testing as far as their donors are concerned. People that have to be very careful. People that have a day job and kids that they risk if anyone figures out their kinks. These people face a lot more complication than the true vampire would. And yet, these ones recoiled and just pulled back. Even Tizmitzi would blend in. Oh, my horns and my cosplay. It's cosplay. Why are you so concerned about what other people look like? What's wrong with you? Leave me alone. You know? You have so many how do you fuck up? Oh, banks? Oh, it's suspicious that the same person keeps on identity for a very long time? Oh, the money's just kind of in the family business. And when the old father got very old, his grandson took over. It just suspiciously looks exactly like the father, the funny thing is, Sabat have less issues with this. Because they do end up controlling full-on cities. If the city is Sabat, you don't have the Inquisition because everybody does act a little bit like a Call of Cthulhu fishing village of, what cult? There's no cult here. Well, the old clan Dracul or the Tizmitzi and Romain, they have ghoul families that run everything for them. That keep up that front. Well, they're just like somewhere in the middle of a forest. Just sitting in a nice big castle. Just have their ass just like right there, right? Plopped down. It's Camarilla that somehow managed to super fuck this up. And to be fair, by extent to Anarchs as well, because they ain't doing any better. Yeah, see, it just so happens that for hundreds of years, this family just keeps on having clones. Don't question it! It's just a thing. I blew out my candle again. There is quite a lot of things where, so you can't just have not only genetics, you can pretty much have genetic memory. You can have quirks. Quirks, that your previous ancestors had. You can have trauma that has happened to them that in no way has happened to you, but it's just somewhere kind of at the back of your head. You can like the same things, you can dislike. The human brain is weird. It's like we have this shared experience that can be extra strong among families as well. So yeah, it does happen, but this family, just like this specific vampire family, just keeps on having clones. I'm gonna say, I think I'm for Prince Leader on the Camarilla. The traditions, including the Masquerade, can be harsh, but they are necessary. Even though I think that all of these people are blaming morons, and somehow there are parts of the kindred world that are operating a lot safer and better, and it is not them. To say that Camarilla is flawed is an understatement. The Ivory Tower is corrupt. Even the beckoning that lured the elders to the Middle East and allowed for a political shakeup might not have cured the rot. But the traditions offer some structure, not just for those at the bottom like you, but for the remaining elders. You can't rule like god kings. The traditions are fragile defense against tyranny, But their defense, it's better than fighting like dogs in the streets at least, especially when some of those dogs have been centuries of battle. You arrive a little later than last time, but the nightclub still isn't open. A Tuscan police cruiser is in the deserted parking lot, and the Department of Health stickers cover the doors. Shut down for health code violations. What an indignity. You can only get inside by hiding from cop car and climbing the fire escape to the mostly empty Elysium. Alexander and Carlos are up there, passing a joint back and forth. You see this, Babylon, Carlos says. I'll show her how you hold a roach. Like a degenerate Frenchman, look at that, disgusting. Carlos takes the joint back. As you can see, we have suffered a momentarily setback, but you still have work. Continue to remain off highways and remember not to use phones. Do you have anything for me, you ask? It's time. This time you're picking up, not dropping off, the retainer says. His breath is particularly rank this evening. He hands you the address of the cinder block. The ESPN's jazz club in Dallas and the keys to the studio apartment a block away from the club. The ESPN is awaiting a courier. Tell her Letow sent you and to give you the information he needs. That easy, you say? I doubt it, Alexander says. He smiles, showing his little grey teeth. Get this man some dental coverage, for God's sakes! I know that he has been ghoul for forever and that he stinks like bile, but you realize that if you needed to, you can even replace all of your teeth with fake ones, right? I mean, my teeth keep on trying to get out of my mouth. I lost another piece of it today, which I'm not enjoying, but what can you do? You need to keep away from El Paso, so your best bet is to head north out of Tucson, the risk of US 60 past Lubbock and Abilene. After that, it gets easier. Texas is a spiderweb of minor roads, so you can remain flexible if you need to improvise. You don't want to approach Dallas from Fort Worth, too much police coverage. But that still leaves you with a lot of options. You ask yourself the same question as last time. Where can you find shelter during the day? You did fine last time, but who knows what awaits you on the road east. Yeah! I know what you mean. This front tooth, like, you can't see it on the camera, but my mother actually noticed on Skype call. Or look like a bloody thin blood that has been marked because it literally has like a crescent moon missing. It's like a little piece. But then my back tooth here, that was like 70% filling, it's just trying to fall apart piece by piece. I'm not super worried about that because it still has a lot of pieces to go. But it's just kind of crack spits out a piece of your tooth, god damn it, sort of deal. Let's see. I can't do my tarp trick again. Or apparently I can use my tarp trick again, so let's do my tarp trick. Apparently we had to practice the tarp trick again. Aww. This Sai has figured out how you slipped through their fingers last time and are wise to your scheme. You have to find some other way to hide for the sun. Okay, behold protein! I meant protein, but behold meat! I'll head into the wilds outside of town and sink into the earth to avoid discovery. As dawn approaches, you and Shadow check the wilderness outside of town. Fortunately, there's a lot of wilderness. You have your pick of caves and grottos. After checking a few sites, you take your ranger Lower some rocks to minimize tracks and wedge it between two stony outcroppings so it will be invisible from the air and sink into the sandy soil, vanishing without a trace. Routine! Meat! Oh, the red meat! As you get back on the road heading east, you once again scan your rear view mirrors for signs of pursuit. It looks like you're clear. You head for Dallas. Some part of you was expecting a sci-fi apocalypse when you hit Dallas. Roadblocks, burned out cars, black and empty skyscrapers. But everything you see is eerily normal. The wide open highways full of white trucks, tree-lined upscale avenues, and trash stone industrial boulevards, looking unchanged since your last visit. You approach from the north, crossing under the President George Bush Turnpike, and then scanning for a tail. Nothing! You only know the Espine by reputation as a socialite and ghoul shaper. But you doubt the Aesthete will hand over her information for free, and it's not like Letow sent you with a suitcase full of cash. I kinda still have a suitcase full of cash though, I have quite a bit. That would be too much of a risk with the camera as vulnerable as it is right now. You might be here for a few nights just wheeling and dealing. Once you're sure you're not being followed, you and Shadow head to the studio apartment. It's grubby and run down but secure. Reinforced curtains and deadbolts on the doors. Dallas isn't a walking city, but sidewalks lead all the way from your apartment to the jazz club. You get an early start and check out the crowd. The line isn't long, but the people outside look sharp. Still, you're confident you can get in. You're considering whether to move now or later when you spot the bouncer. You've seen him before. Where? Cam Schleffer. He worked for Neeli, but then you saw him again with the Second Inquisition. He attacked the convoy during the evacuation alongside the Army Intelligence troops. Cinderblock's head bouncer works for the Second Inquisition. God damn it. Does she know? I mean, does the woman know? Hope that she does. I'm assuming that the Espin is a girl. Actually, I don't know what that is. A vampire of sorts. Okay, we're just gonna go by a vampire of sorts now. You cross the street before he notices you. How are you gonna get in without him noticing you and calling a strike team? Now you need to know what at the cinder block is compromised in what ways before you can even think about approaching the Espin. A cursory investigation of the jazz club's exterior turns up a few avenues of investigation you might pursue. If you're in the mood for some old-fashioned sleuthing, the club doesn't guard its trash very well. Well enough patience, you could dig through that. You could also try talking to people. Oh no, not the people! Petty criminals hang around the cinder block just like at the Viper, and if you don't act cool, you can learn things for a modest fee. You could just drift as close as you can to the line outside and listen, though you would have to play it cool to not draw attention. If you want to get dangerous, you could try testing the Cinderblock's security system, not to get in, just to see how they react. You have to be clever though, to avoid getting caught. You could stay away from the club entirely. If the bouncer used to work for the feds, you might be able to back into some badly secured government websites to learn more about him. Or you could focus on the club itself, not the bouncer. What sort of records could you turn up about its finances and dealings? You know what? I am smart enough to get into the federal databases to learn about the bouncer. You head to the nearest gaming cafe. Oh boy, that's secure. Also, slight question? Gaming cafe still a thing? Internet-connected laptop rentals are cheap, so you get to work while digital battles rage all around you. First thing you need is a name. To get that, you search for everything you know about Camp Schleffer until you find an article on The Guardian that mentions one of Oliver Corona's flunkies by name. Looking him up, you find that he's written articles all over the right-wing blogosphere, from semi-legitimate publications to hardcore white nationalist websites. Yeah, I know! It's like... in Japan, they're a thing. People go there to sleep, funnily enough. But outside Japan, gaming cafe, huh? You start to think this is a dead end since your target is black when you turn up a photo on Twitter featuring both men at the open carry match. And that finally leads you to a name, Louis Bellefon. But uncovering anything about his background proves basically impossible. Bellefon almost certainly isn't his real name, until you scroll all over Penn State and up and down every alphabet soup intelligence agency you can think of before delving into various armed forces groups. There's nothing, no trace of Louis Bellefon, not even pictures. A name will have to be enough. The next night... I research at the university because this is what I'm good at doing. I'm gonna try and track down Belefon's family members, I suppose. It's a joke among the Tremere that the only reason they're in the Camarilla is because the princess can keep libraries open all night. Unfortunately, you're not even sure what the Prince of Dallas is now, or if there is one. It's been a rough few years for everyone. You call ahead to a few libraries and public records offices without success until you learn that the University of Texas Dallas has a library open to researchers. It's half an hour drive north. No one stops you as you walk in. You're able to search based on Louis Belefon's name and quickly uncover information on his time at Penn State, including a criminal justice dissertation. But anything beyond that proves almost impossible to track down. You go backward and forward in time, trying to connect a professional history or early childhood to anyone working at Cinderblock. Now, nothing. Look for not just names, but companies, techniques, anything you might use, but it's just a big cipher. It's getting close to dawn when you realize you need to go back to the apartment. The next night... Boy, this feels useless. That being said... I'm sorry, why do you need the Camarilla to do anything for you? How to keep a library open at night. You establish a library. Step 1. Step 2, you say that the library doubles as community service and homeless shelter, and that anyone at night can seek shelter in the library. The community is happy. You get to keep the library open at night. I'm in the bathroom. I'm just gonna wait out the closure of the library in here. Oh no! Imagine that one like teeny tiny vamp that doesn't want to like break property, and he just like, you get turned in the library toilet, and the library closes. And every single evening you're too afraid to actually tear down the door or anything. So you just permanently live there. I could leave, but that would mean breaking a window or two, and I really don't wanna. How long has it been? 34 years! What do you eat? Security guards. Sometimes a librarian or two gets left behind work. Help me! I read the whole library 3 times over. It's so boring in here. Okay. You know what? Let's try at least bribe some people. The dirtbags and creeps outside the cinder block are a little better dressed than the ones outside the Viper, but just as conniving and dangerous. The locals string you along, always promising some useful information, until as dawn approaches you realize that you're out of way more money than you wanted. They're taking you for a ride. You back off because you waste any more money on these hustlers. Next night... How hungry am I? Hungry. Let me try and hunt. I'm sure. Okay, Shadow and I will eat some rats. Any kindred who prey on animals rely on the excitement of the hunt to replace the almost spiritual resonance provided by human blood. You're not getting that tonight. You take your ranger to northwest Dallas, almost within sight of the sprawling loop where the Interstate 635 hits the I-35 Express, and park in a barren wasteland behind a bunch of chain restaurants. The dumpsters are overflowing. You and Shadow eat well that night. Nothing tastes good, but it's fun to plunge your hand into cracks in the cement and pull out a wriggling, squealing rat. You leave heaps of desiccated little corpses in your wake. By midnight, sated, you head on home. Oh, you know what? I haven't learned anything about Cinderblock, but I'm just going in. You bide your time until Louis goes inside, and the new guy at the door is someone who's never looked your way before. Able to slip inside without a problem. The Cinderblock is a jazz club, and from the posters outside most nights that means hip-hop or Afro-Caribbean dance music. But tonight it's real 20th century jazz. A quartet is jamming on the stage while their singer, resplendent in her red sequenced dress, drinks and flirts with the new, old, and important looking. New, old, and important! As opposed to old, and important. Or kind of slightly worn down and important. I spot a silver-haired Ukrainian mobster from Tucson at Midnight Blue Table, negotiating with a young black man with silver-tipped cane. You get just close enough to overhear a few words without them noticing you. More than my people can use now, the black man says in pronounced French Haitian accent. I have literally no idea how that would ever sound. Girls, the mob asks, his expression skeptical. Girls, boys, new kinds of beautiful creatures we did not have when we were young. All very fine, though. Only the best for you, Victor. The best of what you don't want, you mean, Victor says. They all laugh. You keep moving. They laugh, I laugh, the shadows laugh. Wait, what? As the music switches from low-key jazz to swing and the crowd floods the dance floor, you spot the SP. She's looking right at you. Oh. I'm sorry, all I can think of is boobies. My brain was just like... Rack! I mean, I'm a woman myself, but... Rack! You know, the aesthetic only by reputation and description. She barely survived the fall of Tuscan's last prince and fled here to rebuild. I'm sorry, is her reputation just boobies? Like, do people go, oh, you'll know her when you see her? Yeah. How are you, ma'am? I'm not making any comments. I'm sorry. Most kindred go thinner and become more still and corpse-like as they age, but the Espin is big and energetic, with huge red smile and hypnotic eyes and big boobies. Curls of black hair cascade down her broad back, swirling as she tilts her head to study you. She's always in motion like a fledgling, her dark face artificially touched with cosmetic. yeah. It's the big energy. It's big energy, right? She looks away and whispers to a slim and beautiful man seated beside her. He stands up, moving with impossible elegance. I heard that the aesthete conducts surgery on her ghouls to improve them. The ghoul moves so you, the Espin, and her norm on equilateral triangle. You look for Louis and don't see him. It's time to approach the Espin. But how? Also, how do vampires lose weight if they get all thin and corpse-like? I understand the corpse-like bit. Is weight loss just a thing that happens if you live for too long? Because that sounds pretty awesome. You know what, I'm just gonna be very, very straight. I don't like the fact that I'm gonna be increasing my danger rating by possibly attracting Asai's attention, but I think that she should know who Louis works for. Yeah, I know, right? Considering that you never die, and that there's vampires that are like thousands of years old. That being said, like, non-animated, thin, white people that look slightly corpse-like. Very attractive. But then again, I am one of the people that would, see a person in, like, full-on makeup and go, "Demon girl, cute?" And they go, "Wait, no! Scary!" And I'm like, no, 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 cute. Demon girl, be cute. As you approach the estate, you spot one of Julian's retainers talking with beautiful ghoul. Though she's wearing a long black coat and designer boots instead of her usual tonung and practical clothes, you recognize Nadia from a few drop-offs you made for Julian. You're just not sure what she's doing here. That is good for you, but you can't hesitate now. You're not going to rely on charm or tricks when you can make a fair exchange. You approach the Espin and she glances your way without much interest. She finally turns her attention to you once she finishes her sentence. "Ah, Letow's courier, Babylon, right? What brings you to the cinder block?" Her eyes narrow dangerously as if to say, whatever it is, it had been better be important. You lay down, causing her sculpted bodyguards to tense up and whisper, "The Asai." "Everyone leave," the Espin says. The bald Russian, the lick from Tuscan, even the guards all clear out, leaving you and the Espin sitting across from each other on a plush leather sofas as the music starts up again. "Your bouncer Louis works for the Second Inquisition, you say? I recognize him from the attack on Cap Schleffer." You share with the Espin most of the other information you learned about him. The estate considers this information for a moment and gestures towards the bar. A familiar figure appears, Millicent, or Millicent's the bar at Camp Schleffer. The two women conduct a brief conversation. "She's right," Millicent says. "I'm sorry, I should have checked." "Don't apologize." "What do you want me to do about it?" Millicent asks. "I'll handle it," the Espin says, dismissing the bartender. The Espin's gaze is icy as Millicent returns to the bar, but she smiles graciously and folds her gloved hands on the lap. On her lap! There we go, brain. "I did not expect such useful service from one of Prince Letow's people," the Espin says, smiling sweetly. "Thank you for bringing this to my attention. Now what brings a courier to the cinder block? Does Letow have a message for me?" "Prince Letow needs information, you say?" "If only he knew where to get it," Nadia says, taking the place of one of the estate's ghouls. You see a flicker of recognition in the Espin's eyes. She knows the servant. That will make everything more complicated. "Here Tuscan is a mess," the Espin says. "What do you expect?" Nadia says. Letow thought the future of information lay in the Outlander with a fast truck. "Don't you speak out of turn, girl," the Espin says. Nadia falls silent. Estate studies the crowd as the jazz music picks up, then says, "We're all in trouble nowadays, Babylon, so tell me, what can you offer the Espin in exchange for the information Letow wants?" An opening gambit to let the Espin feel out your loyalties. You consider what to say. "Well, first of all, bitch, I just saved your ass from Second Inquisition. How about that?" Yes, honestly, I'm that close to referring to myself as we sometimes, so I don't even pick up about such things, and then people actually stop me and I go, oh yeah, it's me. I keep on referring to my own brain as a separate human being sometimes, that's weird. Well, we're in this together. If you don't help Letow and Tuscan Falls, it would make you weaker, not stronger. You're too pure and gentle for this world, you know, the Espine says, but I'm thinking you have a point. It's not a fun being a target, but if I have to be a target, I would like to be one in a... What do you say now? Target-rich environment. It worked, apparently! I'm sure that whatever Babylon can offer with her ranger and meager powers, Nadia says, my master can offer more in a way that will not trouble your relationship with Prince Letow. Maybe the Espin says, but I prefer to negotiate one at a time so people do not collaborate and conspire. Nadia, go ask Yuri if he ever convinced Paternoster to move some of his people to Phoenix. Nadia hesitates for a moment and leaves. That Malay girl is in trouble, the Espin says, watching Nadia from beneath heavy-lidded eyes. Which brings me to what I want from you. Her smile is friendly, or at least looks friendly. But though you earn the respect of a loyal Camarilla, you know how dangerous that can be when they're cornered. Sit back and wait. Espine takes her time. Toward her are lovers of beauty, and to be fair for the Espine, the jazz band is excellent. But finally she says, I'm going to need to deal with a lot of problems at the same time. Let's talk about which ones concern you. First, I need to deal with Louis, of course. But I can't just get rid of him. I need someone to feed him false information. And of course, the Espine says, the Asai hasn't just dragged Kindred out of their havens and burned them. He attacked us financially. Frozen your bank accounts, you ask? Not exactly, the Espine says, but we're being monitored. Our cash can't move freely. If I use my powers, it's likely someone in the Asai will notice that bank just did me a favor for no reason. How much money do you need, you ask? Another 5 grand will mean I'm clear to operate again with the Second Inquisition's financial team sniffing about. Don't have that kind of money, you're forced to admit. Then an IOE from Letow. We're all in this together after all, and I need cash. What kind of cash do I have? God damn it, I'm close to what she needs. Can't I just offer 4,000? Okay, what sort of hustle do you want me to run on your head, Bouncer? From what I've seen of their side, they're a confused group of overlapping government agencies that barely understand what we are. They're desperate for more information, even if it's bad. I've been going through my files from the 90s back before I had this place or the Bruja quit and the SMIs showed up, you know. All this information, it looks real good, real up to date. But I've been going through it and it's wrong, dangerously wrong, and I made some changes and it's so wrong it's basically a weapon. Get it to Louis and he'll bring it right back to his masters, like a bomb. You know what? I'll get that false data to your bouncer, no problem. It's fine. I don't have 5,000 to give you, but I can get the data to your bouncer. Had my suspicions about Louis, the Espine says, from the disorganized desk of her modest office, but the Asai, she glances at Millicent, the bartender nods in confirmation. Millie, get Yuri and the other Russian, the woman who worked for the GRU. Let them know we're going to need someone killed. I thought Babylon was going to. And if she can't, the Espine says, the Russians will deal with him. So be it, dear, and tell them to get ready. When Millicent leaves, the Espine hands you a thick manila envelope full of dangerously outdated information. You skim it. The irrelevant kindred power brokers, long-destroyed princess, political contacts that Camarilla abandoned years ago, Everything dated to look like it's recent. Trying to exploit any of this information will get a hunter killed. I don't care how you get this to Lewis, she says, but get it to him in a way that lets him believe it's valuable. Stepping back into the jazz club late that night with your parcel, you consider what to do. You can't just hand Lewis the parcel. Hey Lewis, have a parcel! You need to lure him in. Like every good con, it requires Mark, who wants what you have. Even as you consider your options, you spot Nadia whispering to one of the licks from back in Tuscan. Whatever you do, she's going to make things difficult. Anyway, Millicent is happy to supply you with information on the bouncer, including the address of his townhouse nearby, notes in his checking account, and other personal information. Your previous investigation of the cinder block means that you're even able to speak to some of the security personnel there and learn about him. The address isn't obviously useful, because it's not like you're robbing him. You're trying to get him to rob you. Still, knowing where he lives lets you track his movements. The cinder block, to the gym, to the 24-hour diner, when he ends each long night. You see a few ways to convince Lewis to go for the package of bad data, but you know you only have one shot at this, and there's only one other problem. If you lose this parcel, it's a major breach of the Masquerade, even if the information is out of date. You know what? I do have brains. So, a solution that takes brains shouldn't be a problem, it should be of benefit. I spread hints about the information through the criminal underworld and sell it to him. That will take real brains, and it won't be easy, but I'll make some money. I don't see any reason not to make a little cash while getting rid of Lewis. You start by hitting some countless other dives and clubs, spreading rumors about valuable data that everyone is looking for. You have to be careful here. The information here you have contains accurate information about Kindred that would be an explosive Masquerade breach if it fell into the hands of some random crook. And of course, Nadia is following your trail, trying to figure out what you're up to. You end up having to use some of the worst bars in the city to conduct your business, places she won't enter. You're not exactly afraid of the people there, but they're unpredictable and you can't deal with unpredictability right now. Work carefully, spreading rumors to draw more interest while not drawing in random criminals or other hunters. Lewis is cagey and paranoid, and he knows that this city is better than you do, but finally, after 3 nights and multiple risky points of contact, you'll have his attention. You employ a local middleman to handle the transfer since you don't want the bouncer recognizing you. Then you just watch from the shadowy corner of an old-school country and western bar as Lewis enters, scans the room, and spots your middleman. You bite back a curse as you realize that they're going to a second location. You move to follow. The rowdy drunk tries to start some shit near the door. You disengage yourself and run into the parking lot just in time to see Lewis hit your middleman across the back of the head with the Amara concealed in his fist. He grabs the intel, jumps into his Yukon Denali and takes off. You shrug! You're not getting paid, but you made sure that the SI got his poison pill. Works for me! It worked out in the end! Hard copies, of course, the Espin says from around the corner. She unlocks a metal safe in her modest, uncluttered office. She hands you a slim-lined briefcase with everything Letow asked for. What about Lewis, you ask? Gone, the Espin says. Vanished with the bad data. Don't know if he'll use it. Lewis was nobody's fool. But it got him out of our hair. Fine work. If Lewis is gone, you did your job. You examined the briefcase. The Espin gestures to the briefcase and says there's everything you need. He also hands you registration information for a motel room outside El Paso, so you have a place to stay on the way back. How pleasant. You pick up the briefcase and leave the cinder block. After one last day spent resting in the Dallas apartment, you pack up, wipe any signs that you were ever here, and get out of town using side streets to avoid pursuit. Go back on the highway in less than an hour. Your nerves are rattled the whole drive home. You feel eyes on you, and once you hear helicopters overhead. Both nights you spot cars following you for miles and miles, shadow howls and whimpers in the passenger seat. Once you spot the RX-Z you saw a few weeks ago, and maybe just some other Camaro, you were not sure, but no one makes a move. Take side streets into Tucson, top off your gas tank just in case, but no one comes for you. Roll all into the Viper parking lot. The Viper's still shut down, graffiti covers one wall. When your headlights slice through a nearby alley, shining eyes reflect in the light, and whoever was hiding there scatters, fleeing deeper into the city. When you step out of your Ranger, broken glass crunches underfoot. Riga is watching from a lamppost. She calls softly, shadow growls, slow and vicious. Interior echoes with your step, like the tomb of some forgotten emperor. Ow! Jesus Christ, did I just stick my hand in the candle? Of course I just stuck my hand in the candle. What's wrong with me? The lights are out, except the red glow of an emergency exits and some track lighting around the bar. A few armadillos snuffle around the entrance to the kitchen. Letow is seated at one table, reading Olga to the car sucks Biegunny. A pile of turquoise jewelry is scattered across the table. Yolabo hangs back, and they spot the eagle prints. Babylon, Letow says, setting the novel down when you enter. His voice is soft. You have what I sent you for. Something tells you not to get too close. Set the briefcase down on the table and slide it across the eagle prints. He opens it. This is it. Very good, Babylon. His voice is distracted. After a few seconds, the prince says, Why don't you sit down? We have some things to discuss. They concern events in my past and your future. Okay. What do you want to know, Prince Letow? I need to understand. Boss, Dove shouts, skidding to a halt beside the prince. Letow doesn't startle, he only glances calmly toward the former courier. I just spoke with Sister Moore, she says. She's dealt with the health inspector and figured out what was controlling him. You're all ours, now we can reopen. Letow jumps to his feet, scattering jewelry and dropping his novel. When? Now, like right now, and we need to. Our budget is down to what we owe Babylon, Letow says. Pay her, then call someone to pay a live show tomorrow night. I don't care who. Someone loud. No cover charge for the rest of the week. We'll make it back in drink sales. Letow is off to make plans. Monetary fears temporarily overriding whatever very final conversation you expect he planned to have with you. A few minutes later, one of the retainers hands you a wad of cash. By that time, the Viper is already filling up again. Another job done, you suppose. You return to the estate and park ranger. Where to tonight? No wounds, kinda hungry, so you know what? Tonight we get some blood. And after that, for tonight we stop until the next time, until I return. This is gonna sit on my nerves because my candy boy, I wish that we could just sit down and have a normal conversation with my candy boy. I wanna have Letow on my side, goddammit, and this game is gonna tear my heart apart because I'm too invested in this romance that's being playing out with like one sentences. With like short sentences instead of like proper conversations because Vampire World's like too involved in doing their little petty schemes instead of sitting down and just talking like person to person. But you know, I suppose social interaction is too hard to muster sometimes. But anyways, thank you for watching, and when we come back we're gonna do one final job here and then hopefully not get ourselves killed! Thumbs up, and good night everybody.